Hello, and welcome to our guide to Black Fathom Deeps. In this video, we will take you through the bosses and mobs, offering tips and advice along the way. When you enter the dungeon, you will see two non-player characters offering quests relevant to the dungeon. Make sure to pick these up for extra rewards at the end. All of these characters are level 20, which is the minimum level for this dungeon. In the group today we have Ryan, tanking as a Tauren Paladin, and Morgan, playing as the healer Morgia, a Blood Elf Priest. Our damage dealers are Kenya, who is Shakendra, the Blood Elf Warrior, Chrissy, who is Solopsis, the Blood Elf Warlock, and Mac, who is an Orc Warrior named Boshi.
Okay, so you're now approaching the jumping stones. There are 4 jumps to make it across to the other side. The difficulty is seeing the gaps where you have to jump and also timing them. The best approach here is going to be to scope them out before you attempt the jump until you become familiar with this part of the dungeon.
Here we are approaching the Pool of Askar, which houses the first boss named Gamu Ra. He is a fairly simple opponent with no special skills or abilities. However, be sure to only attack him. Getting too close to the non-hostile small turtles surrounding him can result in additional enemies, potentially overworking your healer and causing a wipe.
After you finish fighting Gamu Ra, turn to your right from the direction you entered his chamber. Under the surface of the water is a hidden passage to the next boss. Down here, however, you must be very careful to only pull 1 or 2 enemies at a time. The 3-dimensional swimming environment can be confusing, and in addition, there are multiple creatures that patrol around the outside. Once you make it through the underwater arch, you will emerge into a cavern with several Naga inside. The boss ahead of you is Lady Saraves, a Naga witch. She moves between the depths of her cavern and the main chamber, so be careful when you are pulling the trash around her. She deals significantly more damage than Gamu Ra, so your healer should be prepared for this. She uses the spell Forked Lightning, which deals a large amount of damage to targets in front of her. Tanks can reduce this by turning her to face away from the rest of the party. Both tanks and damage dealers should feel free to use any interrupts or stuns on her to reduce her casting damage output.
Again, the third boss, Gellehalst, is not incredibly difficult. He does deal quite a bit of damage, so make sure the healer is really concentrating on the tank here. He is the first very high level creature in Black Fathom Deeps, which decreases the likelihood of hitting him. You will notice a lot of misses, so defeating him may take a little longer.
When you get to the entrance hallway of Twilight Lord Kelris's room, proceed with caution. There are many additional mobs that move around this area. Have the group stay in the hallway while the tank pulls enemies in from the outside area. The tank should be very careful not to attack anyone near the boss himself. For the last few enemies before Lord Kelris, you may need to move into his room to attack them. Everyone in the party needs to be careful to stay far away from the boss during this phase. Twilight Lord Kelris is a much more difficult fight than the first three bosses. He uses both magical and melee damage to target the tank, so the healer needs to be aware of spikes in the tank's health. His most disruptive ability, however, is the spell Sleep. He puts all party members in melee range to sleep, rendering them unable to move or use any abilities. He will immediately rush to the nearest non-sleeping party member. For this reason, ranged damage dealers and the healer should stay at maximum range from him, so he cannot reach you before the sleep wears off. The tank needs to be prepared to immediately taunt him as the spell ends. Once you master this mechanic, he's a fairly straightforward encounter. After defeating Kelris, To proceed, your party must ignite the 4 braziers around the statue. Each brazier lighting will spawn a wave of enemies to the room, so it's vital to only ignite one at a time. Each wave has a different type and number of creatures, and there is no specific order you need to light them in. Feel free to use spells which disable or stun your enemies during this portion. You will see that we use the Warlock's Fear spell to control one of the larger enemies. The giant Hydra Akumite, again, is a fairly simple boss, but she deals a large amount of damage. Healers need to pay special attention to the tank while defeating her. She also has a great deal of health. One particular attack players should watch out for is her Poison Cloud, which deals a good deal of close-range damage over time. To help the other party members, the tank should turn Akumai away from the group.